not the way we used to be. When I think about the things you took from me, I know that I am so much better.
What's up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jessica Hickson, and I spent 5 years working my way up to the top of an MLM before realizing they're just not all that they're cracked up to be. My goal with this channel is to rescue some Huns, to prevent some Huns from becoming Huns, and to also give those a voice who have left the Hunbot industry like myself. So I'll explain a little bit more in depth once I really get started with the video, but today I'm going to be covering the ways in which my MLM experience specifically related to that of a cult. So if that sounds like something that would be interesting to you, definitely keep on watching. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the post notification bell if you'd like to be notified every time that I post. Give this video a big thumbs up if you like this type of content. And then, of course, if you wish, follow me on all social media platforms at The Jessica Hickson.
It's what you're doing, making me feel like I'm falling. And when you're moving.
So I told you guys in my last video how pumped I was to share the items that I got in my P.O. box last week, and today I'm going to share with you the other items that I got within my P.O. box. With that being said, today's small business shout out goes to Angela LaBelle Designs. She uses upcycled denim to make different items in her Etsy shop. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of the items that she sent me, and when I tell you I almost cried when I opened these, I literally almost cried. You can ask my husband. I was like, people are so flipping talented. Where do you guys find this talent? It just makes me feel even better about highlighting small businesses when I find talent like this, and you could never find this in stores. Okay, you guys ready for this? This is my family, Graham, my husband, Anna, and myself, and she painted it on this denim keychain. Is that not the coolest? I am legitimately obsessed with this, okay? And then she made this one for our Hunbot rescue mission. Super adorable. And then she made me this little like makeup bag thing. Super cool. She actually sews inside her the name of her shop and also different fabric with different designs. So super cute, super cool. Thank you so much, Angela, for sending me that stuff. And when I say I'm obsessed, I know I'm gonna say it a million times, but I'm literally obsessed and amazed by your talent. Of course, as always, I will leave all of her links in the description below, so you guys should definitely go check her out. And back to the video. So I'm just gonna kind of explain to you guys how this came about. So a couple weeks ago on my recommended page on YouTube, a Dr. Phil episode had popped up. And I've always been intrigued by cults. I love learning about cults. I have probably watched every cult documentary to ever exist. It interests me a lot. And when I first started sharing my MLM story, I couldn't quite understand why you guys were so intrigued and wanted to hear so much more about it. But then I realized that I love learning about cults. I love learning about the lifestyle, how people could possibly fall victim to that. Do they like actually believe the stuff that they're saying or whatever? So it makes sense to me now. However, I came across this Dr. Phil episode covering the cult called Love Has Won, and I think it had popped up because the cult leader had recently passed away, and so it was like a trending topic or whatever. But Dr. Phil was talking to the cult leader about what she believes, and then some cult members about what they believe in reference to the cult leader. And as they were talking about it, every point that they made, and let me just preface this by saying I'm not insinuating that it works as a cult. I'm not insinuating that MLMs are a cult. I'm sharing my personal experience and my personal experience only in my personal opinion. Get that out of the way. So as they were talking, I was sitting there with my husband watching it, and we were both just mind blown at the similarities between the beliefs and the structures of the both of them. I was going to do a video kind of comparing that Dr. Phil episode to my MLM and just showing you guys the similarities between the two. However, I have been reading that Daddy Phil might be a little bit uptight about copyright, so I decided not to do it to his video because I'm not trying to get in trouble or get my rights taken away or whatever on YouTube. So I decided to go and find a different one called CULTS Explained, and it aired on Netflix, but I found it on YouTube. So I'm going to go through that video and just explain to you guys the similarities between my MLM and cults. So one of the first things I want to say about the similarity between the cult Love Has Won and the MLM, almost said cult, the MLM that I was in was Love Has Won referred to their cult leader as mom or mother god, right? I never put two and two together when I was within my MLM, but everyone referred to the CEO as coach and the chief networking officer or the co-founder as queen. So anytime that they would like introduce them when they would get on stage or whatever, they would introduce him as coach or the queen if she was coming out. And it's just interesting to me now that that was a thing and that the cult they like have a special name for their leader too. Anyways, let's get on with the video.
I think what attracted India to the group was the sense of unified purpose.
I promise I'm not going to pause that much within this one, but I do want to say that a lot of people join MLMs for this exact reason. They don't feel like they're a part of anything. They want to be surrounded by all of these, what they feel are positive, like-minded people. They want to feel supported. They want to feel close to people and feel a part of something. That's why you'll see a lot of MLMers posting screenshots of their Zoom calls and being like, you're never alone in this business. You'll always have support, or pictures of them with their friends and being like, I love that I've met my best friends through this business, or posts like that, because it draws people into the community aspect of the MLM.
Thousands of groups like NXIVM have risen throughout history, groups that are often described as cults. But it's impossible to know how many because most cults insist they're not cults, and almost nobody in a cult realizes they're in one.
That is absolutely true. Of course, I never considered the fact that it was a cult while I was in. I would actually laugh and make fun of the people who said it was a cult. I'd be like, yeah, we're a cult, like, haha, cult sisters, like, kind of thing. So I never imagined that it could actually be very similar to that of a cult, but the similarities within the two are scary.
So what makes a group a cult? And how have some been able to make ordinary people do horrible things?
I shall be God, and beside me there shall be no other.
We want to share this knowledge with everyone now.
We want to share this knowledge with everyone, it said. And like I've mentioned in previous videos, this was drilled into our heads. Like, if you're not sharing this with everyone, you're doing them a disservice. You're making a decision for them that only God should make. Your job is to give this opportunity to everyone, and God's job is to let them know whether it's for them or not.
It was felt that whatever method necessary was okay because we were heavenly children, and God knew why we were doing it.
That's how they make you feel better about it. That's faith manipulation to a T. God knows why you're doing it. God knows your intentions behind it. God knows that it's not slimy and gross. That's how they make you feel better about it. That's how they keep you in it.
You were told to replace your family and discard your old identity.
Yep, you're told to cut out the haters, which typically the haters were your close friends and family, because they can see that it's not a great thing for you and they have your best interest at heart. So you're told to cut those people out and only surround yourself with positive, like-minded people, which just so happen to be in the same business.
Your only chance to survive is to leave with us.
Yep, and that was the other thing. They always made it seem like this was the only option. That if you wanted a life of time freedom, financial freedom, my MLM was the only option that was going to make that happen. Otherwise, if I was working a 9-to-5, I was going to be burnt out. I was only going to be spending the weekends with my children. They just made it out to be like, if you're not in a network marketing company, your life was going to be miserable forever. You're never going to make the amount of money that you can within an MLM and be able to make your own schedule and work from your phone.
They settled on 3 main characteristics.
A cult is a group or a social movement that's led by a charismatic leader who is authoritarian and who demands to be revered as a godlike figure.
Now, I'm not insinuating that the CEOs of the company I was within demanded to be seen as a godlike figure, but I will say that they were extremely charismatic. They gave their pump up speeches, and everything that they said went. Like, everything that they said was law. Everything that they said was inspirational and empowering to the people that followed them, right? So as I stated in one of my previous videos, the female co-founder would go around and she would talk to people and ask them, like, what's holding you back in your business, or why aren't you giving it your all, or whatever. And then they would share this like deep rooted issue within them that they've been struggling with, and she would legitimately tell them to get over themselves. That if they really cared about themselves, they really cared about making a better life for themselves and their family, then they would get over it and continue moving. And that was seen as inspirational to us who were within the company and following these people like they were so important and they knew all. They always had a way of making everything seem like a good thing, and when it was coming from them, them and we were their followers, we then believed it to be a good thing. So they made a bunch of changes to the compensation plan, and when they made these changes, when they announced them, they made it like this huge announcement and played this crazy music and made everybody super pumped up, and then made it out to be like it's simpler, blah blah blah. And then later on, when we're actually living through the compensation plan and the changes that had happened, we started to realize that it was not a compensation plan change in favor of the distributors. It was a compensation plan change in favor of the very tip top people and the people who are running the company. But because they put it in this positive light, us followers took it as law. It was a good thing.
The second key element of a cult.
The group has some form of indoctrination program, sometimes called thought reform.
Or mind control.
It was almost like the operating system was the Bible, and then he was putting all of his programs in there on top of it. And people would kind of accept them because they accepted the Bible, so they shouldn't question the Bible, so they had to believe it.
There is exploitation, either sexual, financial, some type of exploitation of the members.
So the mind control, in my opinion, comes in the form of like love bombing people. So they get people to join by portraying this positive image throughout the community of the MLM'S. They portray this positive image of financial freedom, of friendships, what was it? Friendships, freedom, and fun was their 3 F's that they always talked about. So they're portraying this image of a perfect life. And then when people join, they love bomb them. So they tell them how awesome they are. They pump them up. They give them all the tools that they'll need to succeed. And they just make them feel like they are the most amazing creature to walk this earth, right? And then, like they said, the third thing that makes up a cult is exploitation. So then what happens is they start taking advantage of people's financials, telling them that if they're not willing to invest in their business, they're not serious enough about their business, so they're not going to be successful. They also tell them things like their success is dependent on their mindset. So if their mindset is wrong, they will not find success within the business. If they're feeling like nobody wants to sign up with them or nobody wants to buy their products, that's why no one's buying their products and nobody's signing up with them, is because they feel it internally. So if they want to be successful and make a lot of money and have this luxurious lifestyle, which doesn't happen very frequently at all, which we know that, but if they want this, they need to switch their mindset and do tons of personal development in order to feel right about what they're doing, to keep a positive mindset and keep pushing.
Jim Jones took some of the appeals to social justice that were intrinsic to Father Divine's message, and he used them first to attract people and later to manipulate people.
And it's when that manipulation becomes destructive that a group becomes a cult, according to social scientists.
It's really not about the belief system per se. It's about the behaviors of the group and the ways in which it uses various methods of influence and control to manipulate and exploit the members.
Yes, I think there's this common misconception that if your cult is not religion based, then it's not a cult. But she just said it's not about the beliefs of the cult. It's about how they use different tactics in order to manipulate people within the cult to exploit them and bring more people in that they can exploit and manipulate.
So as a public service, we present to you 7 elements that social scientists say can lead to indoctrination into a cult. Number 1, you are going through a transition, perhaps a difficult one.
I was a starving, not very successful actor in my 20s in New York.
When you're in that vulnerable state, you're going to be more open to trying something.
We've talked about this so many times, but they take advantage of people who are already in vulnerable situations because they know if you're in a position where you're kind of like at a crossroads, so you're going through a divorce or you just had a baby or you're in some type of vulnerable position, that they're able to take advantage of that because they know how the mind works when people are in vulnerable situations.
The first meditation began and I felt the experience of wave after wave of love and connectedness.
Which is all part of the soft sell.
I had a questionnaire, just like questions about life and the universe. Are you happy?
Once you take that first step and go to that first meeting or talk or meditation group or Bible study, recruiters can work on you and invite you back.
Yep, they make all of these meetings and conferences and whatever so encouraging and so exciting to keep you coming back, to keep you plugged in. They also will ask questions to get to know you personally, and that's essentially just to make you feel like they actually care about you as a person and they actually have your best interest at heart, when they definitely, absolutely, positively do not. They're looking at you as a dollar sign and how they can reel you into the non-cult.
We'd encourage them to go to this retreat center in the woods, where we can further indoctrinate them.
This is the first step toward the creation of a new reality.
We were kept in this closed environment, no outside books, no TV, no movies, to protect us from what my parents would say is the defilement of the world.
So when we were trying to recruit people into the MLM, we were told to sign them up before they had time to go do their research. So if somebody said, I need to talk to my husband, it was our job to convince them to sign up before they talked to their husband, because we knew that they would change their mind if they talked to their husband or if they did any outside research. And we didn't want them to have any outside influences, because we knew what they would find out on the internet if they Googled it, if they talked to someone they know. We knew the stigma behind what we were doing. That's not to say that we didn't believe in what we were doing. We thought we were genuinely helping people, at least I did, but we knew how other people felt about what we were doing. So we didn't want them to go ask other people about joining. Creating your new reality also ensures that you're going to be completely surrounded by the people who are within the MLM and not the outside influences that may be steering you in a different direction.
Over time, you're going to become more and more enveloped in this, what I call a self-sealing system.
Until your most important relationship is with the dear leader.
They would have Sun Myung Moon and or his family members come out. Ladies and gentlemen, the true parents of mankind, Reverend and Sun Myung Moon.
You're in a group that has found the answer, and you have this leader who is the only leader, who is the only one who can take you on this path.
Yeah, I kind of touched on that earlier, but they make you feel like this is the only answer. Like, if you want a better life, there's no other option for you. This is the only way it's going to happen. But in terms of being in the presence of the leader, all of the annual conferences, those were the most life-changing conferences, because the CEO and the CNO, or whatever their titles were, the two people at the very top were always there, and people would legitimately be crying when they brought these guys out on stage. They would hype them up on the microphone. They would get this music blaring. Everybody's jumping up and down and screaming, and I can't put a clip in here because just this past week, one of my videos on Facebook that was from the conference was reported for copyright, so... But screaming, jumping up and down, cheering, and legitimately crying when these people came out on stage. And this goes for not only the top two, but the ones that I've showed in my videos, the top leaders who yell at people, those ones as well. I will be the first to say I got a picture with one of them and was sobbing my eyes out because I just felt like I had met the president or something. So embarrassing.
And everything else and everybody else is wrong.
Which the leader will often solidify by creating an external enemy.
He said to me, you're going to be raped, you're going to be beaten, you're going to be left in a ditch. He said all these horrible things about what would happen to me if I left, because the world was such an evil place.
Okay, so obviously it wasn't to the extent of them being you're gonna be, that stuff's gonna happen to you if you leave, but it was to the extent of when I would confide in one of my uplines about one of my best friends giving me hate or whatever, they would be they're only doing that because they are jealous of you. They're jealous of your success. They can see that you're doing well and they want that for themselves, but they're not willing to get it, so they're gonna bring you down. They're just a hater. You need to cut them out of your life. If you want to be home with your kids and you want time freedom and financial freedom and everything else, this is where you need to be. And those people, they don't get it. They don't see the vision. They don't have the dreams that you do. They're not helping your success in any way. So they absolutely 100% created this us versus them mentality in everything. Everyone on the outside is only there to hinder their success out of hate, out of jealousy.
You don't reason anymore.
People in this state of cognitive dissonance, they're going to choose over and over and over for the cult or the cult leader.
Which brings us to the key way cult leaders scale up their control. Simple peer pressure. This fundamental human desire to be a part of a group can override even our own perception of reality.
Absolutely. So the natural human thing is desire to be a part of a group, right? And so when you're a part of a group and they're making a decision, you conform to whatever their decision is. So you kind of lose your ability to reason and see clearly. You're clouded in your judgment by the beliefs of every person around you. Everyone around you believes the same thing. So if you don't believe that and conform to that, then you're an outcast. So you kind of lose your ability to think on your own.
It's this pressure to conform that the cult leader uses to control members.
In a way, that's what he did the last day in Jonestown. He incited a riot, and then he sat back and let peer pressure work.
All to serve the whims of a likely sociopathic narcissist.
He said, you couldn't live without me, so since I'm dying, you're gonna die too. And you're not that important because I'm the one who's essential.
Obviously not to that extent. However, a lot of the top leaders, some of which I've covered, really give me like sociopathic narcissistic vibes. They all seem like they have this idea of I'm somebody and you're nobody. Like, I'm not gonna talk to you because I'm important and you're not. I would say every single top leader that I met while I was in, when I wasn't a top leader, so I wasn't part of them, every single one that I met just had this narcissistic personality, like, I'll take a picture real quick, okay, now like leave us alone kind of thing. They were always separated from the rest of the group. They had their own special area that we weren't allowed in. My friend actually mentioned to me the other day, so her and I had both earned a cruise within the company, and I ended up not being able to go because I was still breastfeeding my son. They didn't have freezers there for me to pump and whatever. Anyways, I didn't end up going. She went, and she said it was just sickening to her how separated they had like the top leaders from everyone, and made it out to be like they were just like these little fish in a pond, and then everyone else that was important was able to like have access to the best things and just be in different areas that these people weren't allowed to be a part of.
As fewer people identify with organized religion and the communal gathering spaces they offer, virtual communities are helping to fill that void.
The problem with this is that there are so many influencers who are within MLMs who are able to show the best parts of their life and portray this image of their life that doesn't exist, but they make it seem like their reality, and so they gain all these virtual followers and become very influential, and then they just grow exponentially. So unfortunately, more people are getting manipulated and taken advantage of.
Whether that alternative narrative is built online or in the physical world, on the promises of social justice or the promise of a better, happier, successful self, they all use the same methods of control, and they're all incredibly hard to escape.
It's hard to leave a cult because it's your whole world.
In time, the majority of cult members will leave on their own, often when they discover their infallible leader isn't so infallible.
Yeah, so I've talked about this before, but a lot of people ask me why I stayed so long, or they don't understand why people stay so long if they're not making a lot of money. And the thing is, like they just said, it becomes your life. Like once you've cut off everyone in your life and you're only surrounded by the people who are within the MLM with you, the thought of letting go of that is terrifying. Like your job will be gone. What you thought were friendships will be gone. The people you talk to every single day will be gone. You feel like if you let that go, you're just gonna be in this like isolated bubble with no one around you, no income, no sense of community, no friendships, nothing. And that's scary. You're also led to believe this whole time that this is your only option. This is your only chance at success or having a happy life. And so the thought of letting go of that is terrifying as well. They mentioned that one of the ways that people end up leaving is realizing that their infallible leader isn't so infallible. Although this isn't the reason that I left, it's very clear to me now that, in my opinion, the company and the people standing behind the company are not what they seem on the outside. Considering that there's a pack of 14 to 17 former distributors who are now being sued. So people with families and with lives are being sued by this huge company who supposedly has more than enough money. They're being sued by them and like taken for everything that they've got, which is extremely sad. This dude also owns an island. He has a family ranch. I'm pretty sure, maybe could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that he also owns a golf course. Like he has everything in abundance, but we know 99% of his followers are not successful within his company. So he's totally cool with everyone struggling within his company, but he has everything that he's ever wanted for his family. Like I said, in my opinion, it's just not what it seems on the outside.
Or when they find their guide to a moral life is actually a hypocrite.
They all took vows of celibacy, pretended to keep those vows. Muktananda himself, I later learned that he was a very fervent, prodigious sexual predator.
Obviously not to this extent. However, we know all of these top leaders are leading this life of beautiful financial freedom, friendships, wealth, everything else, and talking about, you know, keeping your mind right if you want to be successful, yet they're sitting here screaming at you through the camera about you not doing what you can to be successful and treating people like absolute garbage, but they're so happy and so successful in their personal life. Not to mention they're screaming at people to do personal development every day to get their mind right, but they're screaming at people as they're saying it. So is your mind right or no?
Or when their constructed reality cracks.
My dad passed away. The leadership allowed me to go to his funeral. Just getting away from my situation and looking at things from a different perspective, I said, I have to get out.
You guys know this about my story, but for those of you who don't, that's actually how I realized that the MLM that I was within was not all that it seemed. My husband had deployed. My friends within the company had completely cut me off because I wasn't present within my business or leading my team by example. And when they cut me off, I was able to just take a step back and see everything that was going on from an outsider's perspective. And I realized that it's not something I ever want to be a part of. And that's why I want to help you guys keep from making that kind of mistake. Something I also want to touch on when it comes to leaving something like that is that another reason it's not so easy is because you start to realize all the things that you personally did to manipulate and exploit people, and you start to beat yourself up over it. You start having guilty feelings of things that you did when you weren't under the right mindset. You start to have guilty feelings about things you might have said or done while you were within the MLM and you weren't able to see clearly. And then there also comes a point where you start to feel guilty for talking about it because of the people who are still within it and knowing that they're victims and they're being taken advantage of as well. And then if you start to talk about it, it made me anyway, and I speak for myself, I don't know about anyone else, but it made me feel like a couple of different ways. One, that I was almost like throwing it in their face that they would think that I'm better than them, or that I think I'm better than them, that I feel like I'm too good for them and that's why I left, which is not the case in any way, shape, or form. And then I also, on the other hand, had these feelings of guilt, like I know that they're victims and I just left them there to continue being victims. I don't know. I, in my opinion, don't feel like there's any saving I could have done while you're under that brainwashing. It's all that you see. And I think for a lot of people, it just takes them realizing it on their own. And I know that in time, all of those people will realize it on their own. It's just a matter of time. But we have these guilty feelings of people thinking that we're better than them. That's why we left. Or people thinking all sorts of things. So it's not just this decision of like, I'm leaving. There are so many different aspects of it. But that is all I have for you guys today. I hope this better clears up why people compare the two, the MLM versus the cult. I hope this clears up a little bit for you guys, because when I started watching the Dr. Phil episode about this, I was like, holy crap, there are so many similarities. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!